Well, tonight, the Biden administration is under fire for controversial provisions to Title IX, a law originally designed to ensure equal opportunity for females in the U.S. educational system. Now, one revision states that if students identify as female, they can be in the girls' locker room. Another allows schools to provide resources to trans students without involving their parents. Take a look.
A transgender notification policy requiring schools to notify parents if children change their gender identification or pronouns.
If we're keeping this from parents, what else is going to be kept from us?
Those fighting for this policy say school employees in California have helped children socially transition without telling the parents.
Does a school have an obligation to tell parents who are unaware that their child is gender transitioning? The question pits a student's right to privacy against a parental right to know.
Kristen Waggoner is the president and CEO and general counsel for Alliance Defending Freedom. Kristen, you represent parents suing because the school helped their children transition without them even knowing anything about it, right?
Right. Well, at ADF, we're focused on protecting the rights of everyone to have free speech, religious freedom, parental rights, and sanctity of life. And we're seeing this gender ideology issue pop up in all of those areas, threaten all of those, because when you reject the truth, when you reject objective reality, biological reality, the downstream effects of that are going to impact all of these fundamental freedoms that we have. So we have scores of cases and parents that are calling that are saying that the public schools are secretly transitioning their children, including cases where they've overtly changed records that they're sending home to parents to deceive them. We have a case involving an overnight trip where a middle school girl was asked to sleep in a bed with a biological boy, and many cases under this Title IX rule as well, involving locker rooms and showers and the rights of privacy.
I think about this a couple of ways. Obviously, we've got some parents at home that are rigid and would have a bad reaction if their child came home and expressed their thoughts and feelings and might kick them to the curb, and nobody wants that. That's why we have all kinds of resources to handle that kind of parental neglect. But the alternative to that is not to teach a child, okay, we're going to make a pact to betray your parents. Lie to your parents, hide things from your parents, and that's what you're going to learn from this. And then we're going to make some decisions here that start you on a path that, as Leor points out, is a bit of a domino effect before the parents ever know anything about it. How have we come to that? Because I got to tell you, if I found out that the school was fostering a private relationship, excluding me and blocking me out with my children, it would not be a good day at that school.
But we've had a dad that recently shared in a case we filed say that what the school official said was that it really wasn't up to the parent, it was up to the child. We are suggesting that compassion requires that we would transition kids when actually compassion requires that we look out for all kids. And putting them down this road is not the way to go about it.
Okay, just for argument's sake, and this is a completely absurd argument to say that it's up to the child, because it should not be up to the child any more than driving a car or making other life-changing decisions should be up to a child. Okay, now it's going to be between this student and some teacher or administrator at the school. They have no expertise or training, so they might as well decide to take out their spleen in homeroom. What the hell gives them the expertise to guide this student through this process? That's why we have licensed professionals to do these things.
And we also are seeing many teachers across this nation standing up, similar to what Dr. Heim has experienced, and they are being fired for objecting to these policies. And yet these policies tell these teachers, you cannot work here if you do not secretly transition these kids and literally lie to their parents.
Help me out here.
Yeah, the Cass Review actually commissioned the first systematic review of evidence for social transition. That's the use of names and pronouns in children and adolescents. And what it found was that there is no credible evidence that social transition in children results in better mental health outcomes. However, there is some evidence that by socially transitioning a child, you lock in a state of temporary confusion or distress that's likely to persist and lead to medicalization. Hilary Cass called social transition, quote, an active intervention. That speaks to your point about teachers are not mental health clinicians. They're not qualified to make these types of interventions, especially without the supervision and consent of parents. And so what essentially is going on across American schools right now is that you have teachers, school counselors, school administrators performing potentially disastrous psychological interventions in children while keeping their parents in the dark about it.
And let me just add, there are also 100 jurisdictions right now in the United States that have made it illegal for parents to go get help for their children when they're suffering from gender dysphoria. They have said you can only see a counselor if that counselor agrees to transition them, but that counselor cannot speak to them about living at peace with their biological sex.
It seems like, wow, why are they pushing it on our kids? Why can't they just leave it for the adults? Because they genuinely believe that men can become women and vice versa. And with that belief, they see it as cruel to not transition minors as well. So that's really the heart of it.
Well, all right, coming up, final thoughts.